Ron Lawler, we're here in the Balcony Theatre in Mount Mellick as part of which is part of the Community Arts Centre, formerly known as the Cinema. The last time I think I was up here, well, certainly the first time I was up here, I was a very small person looking over what is now the stage at ET. Tell me what has happened here in the last number of years.
Well, as you say, Claire, it was a smaller cinema. This is part of a complex that was the full cinema that seated 700. But in the 1980s, those kind of cinemas became unviable. So it was made into a smaller building or a smaller room as where you are now. And it didn't really run as a cinema because it just wasn't commercially viable. So it ran into a bit of disrepair and rack and ruin. But about a year ago, a local FOSS group and Laois Partnership came on board with a nice bit of money, and we renovated it to what it is now, and we've developed it into a small intimate performance theatre, whether it would be for acoustic sessions or one-man shows, stuff like that. That's what we're trying to promote at the minute anyway, and hopefully it'll take off.
Yeah. There are 138 seats here. It's very comfortable. Intimate is the word. I suppose it's the kind of place you're looking at to bring people who have kind of niche interests.
Yeah, like we have Eoin here who is talking about running a film, not necessarily a film society, but talking about special interest films. It would be the same maybe for whatever other aspects of the art we talk about, whether it is, as I say, one-man shows in drama or theatre, or, you know, you can go to the comedy club aspect of it, that kind of thing. It would certainly be niche art. Well, that's a bit... niche art's probably the wrong term. I don't know what term I'm looking for, but it would be that kind of venture that we're aiming at, yes.
Yeah, so you're not aiming for the big crowds and the mass appeal, which is a great opportunity for people who have an interest in something small and know that they have a group of friends or, you know, people they're in touch with on Facebook or some other medium, that they know there is interest in, for example, a particular comedian or a particular singer-songwriter, and this might be the ideal venue for them to come along to.
Yeah, well, we would like to think so. And also, I think it's a fairly well-established phenomenon at the minute that pubs and that are dying as a means of socialising now, because for a lot of reasons with drink drive and the cost of it and all of that, whereas if people can come into a nice place like this where it's comfortable, warm and reasonably priced, I think they would have a very, very good experience. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to aim at that, you know.
Yeah. Eoin Breathnach, the film club here is your baby. Yeah. This is the perfect setting for a proper cinematic experience, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like I said, when I first came across the venue and spoke to Ron, he explained to me that it was so underused. I thought it was a shame because it's a fantastic setup it is. My idea was, because I'm a lover of film, is to show real cinematic experience films. That wouldn't be necessarily your mainstream cinema stuff shown, not your Hollywood blockbuster or anything like that, and not necessarily that's currently just being released. I'd be looking at stuff going back to maybe the 80s, the 70s, that are documentary style stuff, cinema experience style films, rockumentaries, stuff around bands and stuff like that, where you only get the visual experience, but you'll also get the big audio experience as well. With everybody in the room, it's much more enjoyable. It is, you know.
Yeah. You were giving me examples of some of those films earlier, and I don't remember the names, and they're unpronounceable, but they sound like things that, even though I haven't heard of them, I say to myself, that now would be a fantastic way to spend a Saturday night. Yeah. 3 films in particular you mentioned that have no voice whatsoever, silent movies of a sort, but with the Philip Glass score.
Well, yeah, that one we referenced earlier was called Koyana Squatsi. It's actually an old Indian name from the American Indians. It means life out of balance. And like I said, there's no narrative in it. It's Philip Glass, who's a modern classical music producer, puts music to films and puts the score to the film. And it's all scenery from all around the world, from nature to city life to technology, all interlinked to give the viewer to make their own decision on what the film is about. And like I said, also there's another film called Baraka, which was inspired by that film, was made about 10 years later, which again is a real cinematic experience. Then to move on, like I said, other films I'd be looking at would be stuff like maybe there's a Woodstock movie which is 3 hours long, which is again a real audio visual experience is what you're looking for, because you can watch these in your own home. You don't get that kind of auditorium kind of feeling from it, like where the speakers are resonating and everybody's enjoying the music and the film at the same time.
Yeah.
But so I said, we're going to put a website together as well, mountainmallochmovies.com, where we'd put a schedule of films on so people can go on and see what's coming up in the future. And then if it's a music documentary or if it's a social orientated documentary, whether that's domestic or international, they can pick and choose what they want to go and see. But we're looking to try and change it up as well for to accommodate every viewer, you know.
Yeah. And you're starting off with one that should appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah, the first film we got an agreement from the director is The Pipe, which is the film about the Shell Corrib gas field. It was on TV, it was in the cinemas as well, very select cinemas, so it may not have got to all the audiences. But in discussions with Rishtard, who directed the film, he's looking to try and push it out further now into local communities, which you could see from the website as well, thepipe.com. He's looking to try and get that into localities as well, where people may not have had the opportunity to see it with other people. Yeah. You've seen it in your own home, you just view it and then it's finished. But a collection of people seeing it together could provoke a lot of discussion afterwards as well. And the film is very enlightening and very, very engaging. It is. So we'll be looking to try and start off with that film and then take it from there.
Because when you talk about the cinematic experience, you're not just talking about the big screen and the big sound. You're talking about that community sense of being with a group of people and sharing that experience and all being there together. We were talking about that earlier, Ron. You were talking about watching all the kids watching E.T. But you don't get that in the cinema.
Yeah, no, there's a certain buzz I can't explain how it happens between people, but I remember myself when I left certain films as well. You feel a different way walking out of the cinema after feeling the enthusiasm in the place. Mm-hmm. When you're leaving, you feel a more heightened perception of what you've just seen, rather than seeing it on a small screen with small sound with nobody around, you know.
Yeah, very good. And Ron, as well, there was a film club here a good few years ago now. You'd be hoping that this one will take off in a bigger way.
Yeah, back in I think it was the late 80s or early 90s, particular driving force was a man called Joe Brennan. And it went okay for a couple of months, but whether we ran out of steam or the people ran out of steam, I don't know, but it faltered anyway, it petered out, unfortunately. But it's great to see Eoin coming on board and having a go at this, because I think certainly there is an audience for it. There's no question about that.